All right, everyone, it is Friday. And what does that mean? It means it's Manufacturing E-Commerce Success Day. I'm one of the co-hosts, Damon Pastolka, and with me, my friend right over there, Mr. Kurt Anderson. Gonna let you take it away, Kurt.
Damon, man, brother, happy Friday to you, dude. How's your week going? How's everything going?
It's going just fine. Getting ready for Christmas. All my Christmas presents are here. I'm good.
Oh,
I'm on the downhill slide.
Night, way to show me off. Thank you. I know Dan Bigger now. We're going to be out on Christmas Eve. So, man, huge week this week, Damon. We kicked things off on Monday. We had a gentleman from the NWIRC, that is the Northwest Pennsylvania MEP, Bob Zaruda. Man, dude, I'm like he's like an old football coach, and I am still fired up from talking to Bob about all the amazing things that they are doing in Pennsylvania. So, Damon, what I decided to do is we're going to slide over like one state. We're going from Northwest Pennsylvania. We're sliding over into the great state of Ohio. And I want to introduce my buddy, my friend, Todd Underwood. Todd, happy Friday, my friend. How are you?
Happy Friday, brothers. It's good to be here. Thank you.
So, all right. So I'm going to give a little shout out. So, guys, if you're drop us a note. Let us know that you're out there. Would love for you to connect with Todd. Todd is doing amazing, incredible work helping manufacturers in the great state of Ohio. So, Todd, I want to kick things off. I have a question for you that I want to start with. Okay. So are you sitting down?
I am sitting down. Yes.
I want to make sure, just making sure. So, Todd, my first question of the program today is a young man. As a matter of fact, I'm going to not even say young man, a little boy growing up. Who was your hero? Who was your hero growing up as a little boy?
If I'm just being honest, I hope this isn't too cliche of an answer. It was probably my grandfather.
Nice.
He was a very good man, and he traveled a lot, traveled the world. And he's a very religious guy, but he wasn't preachy, if that makes any sense. He lived it. He was a head of purchasing for a giant automotive company, oddly enough. Called Dayton Walther, that is now since gone, but it was a very big company in Ohio back in the 70s. Nice. And he taught me a lot about ethics, because as a purchasing agent for an automotive company, he would tell me these stories of things people would bribe him, or try to bribe him, I should say. He was just a good man, and he would travel all over the place, and he would bring me back money, 1,000 yen, that must be worth $1 million. Of course, it was worth like $2. Probably he had the biggest influence on me, because without getting too far down my story, I ended up living abroad for quite a while. And it was all because being a kid, he told me these stories, and it was always a dream of mine. So I would say it was probably my grandfather.
And what's grandfather's name?
Bill Underwood.
Bill. All right, man, dude, that wasn't cliche whatsoever. That was an awesome answer. Damon, don't you love these answers we get week in and week out?
Yeah, it's awesome.
And so, all right. So, Todd, what I'm hearing is a couple of things I want to uncover right there. So, number one, sounds like manufacturing's in your blood, or it goes back to Grandpa Bill. Is that
definitely was around it growing up? Sure.
Kind of hard to avoid manufacturing when you're in the great state of Ohio.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, let's slide into. I want to slide in your career. I want to talk to what led you to manufacturing, but you piqued my curiosity. You said that you lived abroad quite a bit. Just enlighten. Curious minds want to know, man. Where are some of the places that you lived?
I'll try to make this quick, and people who know me are probably sick of hearing these stories, but I was about 30. I worked for my grandfather's company. He started a small company in my late 20s. It was an automotive supply company for OEMs. Yep. My grandfather passed away, and I decided to exit the company. I had never finished my degree. That was always a shame of mine. So at 30 years old, I went back, did my last year of college, and decided around 31, 32, I wanted to go abroad before I settled down a career path. Yeah. Did that sort of typical thing, moved to Japan for a year, teach English. Ended up meeting my beautiful wife. Without getting into that story, was very fortunate that a job at a university opened up at the last minute, because usually you have to have a PhD to teach, and I have a BA in economics. And they said, could you come in for 6 months and cover? And I ended up doing it for 10 years, teaching at 4 different universities. It's kind of where I learned my marketing, because I marketed myself as strategic communications rather than an English teacher, and would create programs depending on what they were studying. And then had a couple babies, decided we wanted to move back to the US. I had an old friend who had worked at Yahoo. He started a company in California, but all their production was a UX design firm, which has been a big influence on me and what we're going to talk about today. Yeah. He asked if I would come to India for a couple years and had their marketing, and because I knew communications and the same as marketing, right? But went over there, got my hands dirty to Hyderabad, India for a few years. That's where I really cut my teeth, I think, because that was a high pressure startup tech company with some of the smartest people I've ever met, 20-year-olds who are like geniuses. And but India was a little tough on my wife, who's Japanese, because there's not much there's a big difference between Japan and India, I'll put it that way. And ended up moving back here. Toledo, Ohio is where I was born. Wasn't going to stay here. But when we moved back, my daughter was 7 years old, and she had been to 5 schools, and we really liked the school here, and we decided to stay. So I started applying for jobs, and I applied for this place called the Center for Innovative Food Technology. Well, what the heck, I could do that job, and got hired, and that's how I ended up. And I've been here for almost 4 years now, and really never been in the food industry. Never really worked in manufacturing in this sense. But really, like I'll talk about I try to make my ignorance my superpower, if that's sort of my joke.
Wow.
Not knowing is not assuming you know is how you ask the right questions. That good? Sorry, a little long there.
Dude, that was like
awesome.
Man, it's like you did that before, right? And hey, Damon, we got a couple hey, good morning, Whitney. You know what? Shame on me, Damon. I don't have my Santa hat today, but Whitney, happy Friday. Thank you for joining us. We've got Tom up in Syracuse. Tom, happy Friday, my friend. Glad you're here again, guys. So we have, man, you're just getting a little sliver of some exciting, man, this is going to be so good. So I want to share how I met Todd. So I met Todd. So Todd is part of the MEP network. We're going to talk about that. Damon, you and I interviewed tons of folks from the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. And Todd specifically is with one of the agencies called CIFT, and they are located in Ohio. Todd, I met you earlier this year. We were at a conference in Chicago. Amazing, man, was that hotel magnificent?
That was awesome. I felt like Al Capone walking around.
Damon, we're in this hotel, and like the legend has it, is like Al Capone used to run the halls of this hotel. It's right smack downtown Chicago. I think it was right across the street from the Chicago Tribune. It was right awesome. In the heart of the city. And man, it was a spectacular experience. Michael Jordan's restaurant was right downstairs. So Todd was one of the presenters, and man, Todd, dude, you blew the room away. I mean, this room was completely packed. I can't count, but there were not dozens. I don't know, hundreds, but man, this was a large room, large conference room. It was absolutely jam-packed. Damon, probably a dozen to 20 people that have been on our program. All the marketers from the MEP network were in that room. I heard raving reviews, like Jeanette Stevens, Dr. Alyssa was there, Kim Lloyd from New York. I mean, all sorts of people.
Excuse me.
So Todd, talk a little bit. We're going to dig into this, but so you just shared your whole path, this journey, Japan, teaching, universities, India, technology. Now you're the marketing specialist, if I have that correct, right? Marketing specialist at CIFT.
Yeah, marketing manager, whatever.
Marketing. Well, I think you're a specialist. Talk a little bit about what you shared at that presentation, and then in a few minutes we're going to pull up just a really powerful video. But just talk about some of the great work you're doing in Ohio.
Well, like I said, I came in with I told you, kind of a very varied background, but communications based, then marketing, but do nothing about food or really manufacturing other than some distribution, which I had done with my family when I was younger. Yeah. So I kind of came in with it like, because of my UX background, I really pushed the idea of like user journey maps and trying to understand our clients. So UX is I won't claim to be an expert in UX, but it was a big influence on taking me from communications to marketing. So we started doing empathy mapping, and boy, some of the people I work with were like, this is stupid, but it really helped me. And, where you put yourself in the client's shoes and talk about their feelings with Post-it notes and these ideation sessions. And I swear they looked at me like I was nuts at the beginning. But I really got to learn about from an empathetic point of view about manufacturers, and especially food manufacturers, what the big transition for me was actually COVID, because my predecessor was a really good, he headed the marketing. I came in as an analyst just to look at the website and things. He left 2 months before COVID hit, and I interviewed for his position to take over marketing. Yeah. I'm taking over marketing, all of a sudden everything shuts down. And so what I did, and I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself.
No.
One thing we did in India, and I learned through design, is these ideation sessions and how to run a structured ideation session within scope and how powerful that can be. and nobody knew what was going on. You guys remember that. And I said, let's have some roundtables with food companies to hear what's going on and just share. And I won't say I got support from my company, but there was definitely some like, well, what's that going to do? You know, it was a new thing, but they supported it. And we just had these, and companies came. I mean, we didn't promise them an expert in anything, because who was the expert then, right? But we got companies came and they just shared and they told these stories. And I just realized that there's so many amazing stories. That was sort of my light bulb moment. Like, I already understood the empathy side, but the storytelling came, man, we got to tell these stories. We got to change the image of this industry, because I don't know how old you guys are. I'm 48. I grew up, if I didn't go to college, if I went and worked at a factory, and there's nothing wrong with it, my parents would have kicked my butt. You know what I mean? There was some sort of stigma about it. And I realized that stigma is just wrong. And how do you change the stigma?
Yeah.
You tell the stories, because that's what the kids are doing now. And again, I hope when I get, but even as a parent, I don't know that I want my kids to go $150,000 in debt to get a degree that they're going to not be able to use. So I think it's a perfect Venn diagram of timing right now in our culture and society, that parents might be more willing to look at these things. You know, you create that content and you show that side. Does that make sense? So storytelling became kind of a thing for me. And that's where we did our first video, and I'll stop there.
No, oh my God.
No, you're hitting one of the things that we love to talk about, because, you know, I've got a son that's 23, and every time I think back to when he had some friends that really got pushed into college, but really it wasn't the right path for them. If those kids would have learned about manufacturing and gone into the trades or something, you know, just those kind of careers are so good that you don't need to go to school for 4 years. And like you said, $150,000 in debt. And that's even at a state school now.
Yeah, that's it.
And then to come out and realize that's not what you want to do, or come out with a degree that you can't make the money that you can if you went into a vocational school for a year, or just started work. And I don't mean just as in a bad thing, or you came out of high school and worked for a manufacturer and work your way up.
100%. And even me, I was unaware of it. Does that make sense? Even I was, until I got into CIFT, into the MEP. I mean, I have a stepfather who's a tradesman, worked at Daimler Chrysler. I knew you could make a good living off it.
Yeah.
But I had that. But until I saw, man, these jobs and this technology, and we had this economist speak at an event. And one thing that I thought was kind of interesting, he said that manufacturing, you know, people say it's gone and it's in China, but he said, really, the stuff that's made in overseas is the easy stuff. We still do the really high tech manufacturing here. And like I said, these are just things that I love. I've become an evangelist a little bit for this, if this makes sense, in the last few years. Wow. And
you're doing an awesome job, man. And just, hey, guys, so again, we're with Todd Underwood, and Todd, and I'm going to dig into the MEP network and CIFT in a second, but I strongly encourage, welcome, and invite everybody on here if you're catching it replay down the road. But man, you want to connect with Todd on LinkedIn. Todd, you have one of the best headlines, dude, I think, on LinkedIn. Strategic communication and industry storytelling is driven by asking the right questions, listening intently, efficient planning, and acting without fear of failure.
Absolutely.
Dude, drop the mic, and then you've got start with patience, manage with empathy, and deliver successfully. Man, guys, you need to stick with us. We're going to show an amazing, incredible video in a couple minutes. Todd, share what is a lot of our friends that come on our program, they're familiar with the MEP, but anybody catching us for the first time, share what is the MEP, Manufacturing Extension Partnership Network, and then let's go into specifically what's going on in your corner of the world, what's going on at CIFT, in how you guys make the world a better place.
I'll give you the high level, and I don't want to get into too many details because I don't want to make any mistakes and make anybody at the higher level mad, because I've actually been learning more about the national network in the last year. But the Manufacturing Extension Partnership is a program through the Department of Commerce that has centers in all 50 states to help small to medium-sized manufacturers compete and grow. Some states, which took me 2 years to learn, some states have a single center that are run through a university, and it's run very differently. Ohio is kind of unique. There are other states like us, but we're kind of unique. We have multiple centers that are regional. And we've got some amazing centers and amazing people, which kind of creates some really cool synergy between them. But they help these small to mid-sized companies Sometimes new technology is hard. Sometimes lean training is hard. Really, the sky's the limit. But our team can go in and kind of identify the problem, and either we can give you the solution, or because we're a nonprofit and we're not driven by trying to make a buck off you and leave, we can connect you with other service providers and manage that project for you and kind of take some of that heavy lifting off. Because let's be honest, manufacturers are busy right now, right? I mean, that's one of the biggest things I've learned. You can't get people to come because they're on the floor. The owners are on the floor because there's such a workforce issue. So we really can go in and just help these companies. Like I kind of say, our success is measured literally in your success. Like because we're a nonprofit. And that was something that we didn't always talk about when I first joined. We wanted to be more like a company, but actually I think that's a selling point to us, that literally we're not there to make money. Our success is your success. And you get into the metrics and things. I'm sure you guys are aware of that, the scorecards. I mean, so that's really what we do. And then CIFT is kind of a unique center in Ohio. We're in Northwest Ohio. We got an amazing manufacturing team, but we also for many years have had a food specialist team. So we help and support food companies throughout the state, oftentimes in conjunction with the other centers, but we do automation, food safety, product development. I'm sure I'm missing something. I'll get yelled at later, but we just do some really amazing work. But we do regular manufacturing too. We do some great work with standard manufacturing, but our niche is the food.
Yep.
Absolutely. That answer?
That was a perfect answer. And again, more, man, guys, you have to, whatever you're doing in a minute, you're going to stop and watch this video. But Todd, let's go into your team. I know, like, when you go onto the CIFT website, it's, Rebecca's your CEO president.
Yep, great
it's a rock star. You guys have just, and it's almost embarrassing how much talent, skills, of superpowers that everybody has on your team.
We do have an amazing team.
Food background, food expertise. So, you're in your kitchen and man, you feel like, man, I'm making the best such and such. Maybe we should bring this to market. You guys help make that dream come true and bring that to life. Talk a little bit about some of your teammates and some of the expertise. If somebody knocks on your door, what would they expect?
Sure. So what I love about our company is really we if you look at our success stories, we've helped companies that were just an idea all the way through very big established companies like a Myers. I mean, if you come to us, I remember trying to understand our company and asking one of our vice presidents, Shari Plimpton, PhD, who's really smart and knows food better than almost anybody. I said, what do we do? What do we do for clients? And she said, everything. And I was like, how do I market that? But it's actually kind of true. Because we're able to connect with resources as well as provide. But so if you have a recipe and you want to turn it into something that you can sell at a grocery store, we can help you. Yeah. If you're a mid-sized company and you're having labor issues and you need somebody to come in and maybe analyze your production and see if automation makes sense for you, we can do that. And if you're a big company, sometimes you have gaps that you can't fill quickly, and our team can come in, put on your jersey and play for your team for a little while and get you through those gaps. So it's really a wide range of what we can do. Although I'll be honest, my favorite, where I've got a soft spot, is the entrepreneur side. We were talking before this that I like Shark Tank with my kids. I love those hungry people who they have this dream and they go for it. And unfortunately, I've not done that yet, but if I have the right idea, I'll let you know, Kurt. And
there you go.
Well, and I think, and what's awesome for Damon and myself is we get to interview folks like you, Todd. Week in, week out, we've interviewed, dozens of amazing individuals from the MEP network. And it just, what we talk about frequently, Damon, is those entrepreneurs that, man, entrepreneurship is tough. It's not for the weary, right? You feel alone. You're in a silo, and where are those trusted resources, those guides that can help us get through this? And what's just fantastic is that you guys specialize in this, specific area. And, you have a deep bench. Like you said, you have the entire state of network. So, if a client needs expertise that falls outside of your area, we've had multiple people from Magnet. We've had Janelle Lee. We've had Matt, and Gina has been on our program from Magnet. And so, you have 7 other centers throughout Ohio that you can lean on. You have third-party resources.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
It's just fantastic. So, all right, man, I hope everybody's on the edge of their seat for that video, because I still have one more question before we go to the video, David.
Let's hit it.
So talk about like, you're right in the heartbeat of America. You think Ohio, you're right in the center, a major state, tons of major cities, a lot going on there. Sure. Like outside of food, what are some of the other fun manufacturing things that you've seen, Todd, that you've been surprised where you're like, man, I didn't even know we manufactured this here. I know where you are, very heavy auto, Detroit.
A lot of auto. Like I said, Jeep is here. Honestly, like I'm just now learning, but we've got a lot of, you just drive down the highway and you see these giant companies. And if you didn't know like what they do, then now I get online and I Google them, you know what I'm saying? But we do the supply. And I think, not to change the answer, but I think one thing that really shocked people, and including myself, is with COVID, not to keep talking about that, the supply chain issues. You didn't know that this company makes this, that goes into this, that goes into this. And Ohio, really, it's such a diverse manufacturing. And what also is cool is the sizes of the companies. I mean, some of these companies are 5-people shops. Some of them are 1,000 people. I saw just, is it Abbott? Abbott just announced they're going to be building a big facility here in Northwest Ohio. Just saw that this morning. And I'll be honest, I'm going to make my Ohio friends mad. When I was a kid, I just wanted to get out. If you had told me at 30 years old, living in Japan, I'd be back in Ohio, I would have told you you're crazy. But now I would not want to be anywhere else. And in fact, I have a brother who's in LA. And I wouldn't say I did, but I definitely said, you should move back to Ohio. You should move back to Ohio. And he's back here now 7 months. He's like, I should have done this a long time ago. Ohio's booming. And it really is. I mean, I'm real proud of my state. I'm a Bearcat fan. I'm not an Ohio State fan, but I love the state. But
that's all right. Well, good for you, man. That is awesome. So exciting things. All right. Drum roll. We're finally, if everybody's, let's see, I'm going to try to share this. Let's go share screen.
Do this video.
Damon, let me know how I'm doing so far. Let's go. How about if I share Chrome tab? Do I want to show a Chrome tab? How about this right there? Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. I am going to make this big. All right, everybody, do me a favor. If you haven't gotten the popcorn yet, sit back, relax. I am telling you, encouraging you, welcoming you. Drop whatever you're doing. Put the cell phone down for a second, for 4 minutes and 51 seconds, actually. And Todd, do you want to just share, give a little intro before I hit play?
Basically, this was a video with a couple companies we've worked with that are medium-sized, and I thought their stories were amazing of people taking risks and building companies. And I'll just leave it at that, and I'll let the work speak for itself.
All right. Well, this is perfect time. So anybody out there, you have a call at the top of the hour, man. This will take you right up to the call. Ready, sit back.
Yep.
Here we go. Damon, you're gonna love this.
Dennis was a guy in his kitchen one day, and here we are working on being a national brand.
My mom started Marsh's Buckeyes back in 1984 out of the kitchen of our home.
Anything is possible if you put in the work and you have the plan in place to get you to where you want to go. And if the product is good enough and the people, the consumers love the product, you can do so much more than what you think is possible.
I think part of the biggest struggle as a small company is you try to get some of the larger grocery stores, and they're worried about giving a small company a chance.
Well, how did Snickers, the name of a family horse, a candy bar, become the #1 selling candy bar in the world? Why can't a Buckeye be that?
She started selling the Buckeyes at garage sales and festivals and things like that. And the Andersons was really what she considered her first wholesale account that took her outside of Perrysburg. She did some work with Kroger down in Columbus and some work with Cub Foods. And that ultimately is what led to the biggest opportunity for our company, which was Cracker Barrel.
When our founder, Dennis Dickey, was young, he used to be a blackjack dealer at Binion's Casino on Fremont Street in Las Vegas. One of his buddies was from Mazatlan, Mexico, and his grandmother had taught him the family recipe on how to make salsa. So every time they go out on the houseboat, his friend would make salsa, and Dennis was like, you got to teach me how to do this. Fast forward about 30 years, Dennis moves back to Ohio, where he's from, and he got a job at a local pool company. So every time they'd have a pool party, opening a new pool, he would make salsa and bring it to the party. And one day his boss brought the competition in. He bought a cup of salsa at the grocery store, brought it into the party to have Dennis try it. And Dennis tried it and thought there was something wrong with it. He just thought it tasted terrible. And they told him, they said, Dennis, this is what we buy when we can't come to a party and get your salsa. So according to Dennis, at 59 years old, he gave his boss 2 weeks notice that day, took all his credit cards and mortgage on his house, and figured, I'm going to make salsa for a living, and I'm going to be a millionaire and be living in a box on the Cherry Street Bridge. And that's how he got started.
From a very young age, I was traveling the state of Ohio in the back of a van delivering Buckeyes with my mom. We were carrying down supplies. We helped the move from our basement to the new facility down in Perrysburg. Every snow day, every summer day, if she was short on workers, we were in the basement rolling and dipping Buckeyes. We were always a part of the business. My brother and I, who's my business partner, we both kind of had that realization around the same time. When we came back, we had a real vision for what we wanted to do.
So when I first got to Willie's Salsa, Dennis done a lot of work and built his customer base up to about 350 stores. And through all the hard work of everybody here at Willie's, in the last 6 years, we've been able to build that up to just over 12,000 stores.
Year-to-year sales, we've broken company records every year since 2008. Well over 10,000 retail locations. We're very blessed. We're very thankful for what God's provided. But again, it all starts with my mom. It all starts with Marcia and Dave and what they created.
If you've got an idea and it's a good product, I think you should pursue it. You should find a cooperative kitchen somewhere that can help you and teach you how to commercialize your recipe and about the food safety requirements and everything. And there's companies like us that can try and help you along the way.
If you have that passion, if it's truly what you want to do and it's what you were meant to do, then by all means go do it. It's not going to be easy, and you can't do it on your own. Ask for help. Be willing to set aside your pride and put in the work. And if you do that, good things will come from it.
That doesn't do it. That's awesome.
You guys liked it.
Was that Damon? The guy was dealing blackjack.
Yeah.
And then starts to how just all right. Todd, just all right. So like I watched that, I'm like just so inspired. And I love, like the shout out to Marcia. And then the last thing, it's not gonna be easy.
It's not gonna
ask for help. Todd, give us so I've seen several of your videos that are just very powerful. You did a couple through COVID that I'm familiar with. Just talk a little bit about, tell us what's going on behind that video right there.
Well, it's multiple things. Like I said, I was at those round tables, and first I want to give a shout out to Josh Nagel, who is the videographer on that. He's been amazing. I've worked with some really good filmmakers. My brother's a filmmaker. I've went to college with people who won Academy Awards. Josh is up there. He's really good. He's one of those guys who you tell him what the vision is, you sit with him, and he just creates. So if you want to do this, find a good partner like that. Right. But really, for me, it was just like we talked earlier, the stories of these entrepreneurs for that video in particular, just taking a risk. I mean, one thing you don't know about Brad, his mom started that company, and but he didn't inherit it. He bought them out. I hope I'm not getting that wrong, because I remember meeting him a long time ago and hearing that, because you hear about, second, third generation, he was doing something else, and he decided that, but he still gave credit to his mom because she's the one who started, and his dad. And I just thought that was a beautiful thing. And then Willie, he actually started with us at our NOC, our commercial kitchen.
Yeah.
And I heard these stories of this crazy guy who slept in his car, and to me, that's what you have to be. So you got to be a little crazy to be an entrepreneur. Right. But they made it. You know what I mean? They made it, and they're still growing. We really wanted to find people that they weren't done yet, and you can tell from that video they're not done yet. They're continuing to grow and grow. So for me, that and the other thing, without rambling on too much, is I really wanted to create something inspirational. Yeah. So people who have that idea will come to our kitchen, or we'll go to another kitchen and try to follow those dreams, because that's really where all growth comes from. That's a little bit to my economic degree. All growth comes from small to medium-sized businesses and people taking risks. So I want it to be inspiring. So that's sort of where that particular video came from.
Right. I love it, man. And what an admirable career. And don't you just love that you are a dream supporter, like here you are helping these folks and then bringing that story out. So, you said in the beginning of the interview, you had a little pushback or like, hey, this whole empathy map and the buyer's journey, it
was just new. I shouldn't say pushback. It was just new. I think.
Yeah, it was new for
you. Like the MEP centers, you kind of probably have some ideas of what I'm talking about.
Like, what is this? So let's talk to the manufacturer out there. Okay. Manufacturer out there is catching us. They're like, man, that video was really inspiring. I have a similar story, or like my grandfather, my grandmother, my mother started our company. What advice do you have for folks? Let's start with the empathy side. So there's manufacturers out there. This is like they've had no marketing, no social media. This is all brand new. How do you help a manufacturer take that first step?
Well, my advice would be, and again, to just go back in my career, which has been all over the place. When I first moved to India and basically was kind of thrown into the fire, hey, market this new UX design service as you learn it. Yeah. I remember reading about marketing versus strategic communications. And one of my first case studies I read about was Domino's Pizza. And Domino's, for a while, their sales had either plateaued or slumped. And they embraced social media by take a picture of your greasy pizza. It wasn't make it look amazing. It was like, show us your greasy box. And they took off through the roof. So what I would advise any company, especially manufacturing, where there's that little stigma, don't try to be something you're not. Lean into your story. If you're a family manufacturer, that's a kick butt story.
Yeah.
People want authentic stuff. You don't need to make it fancy. Nothing you just saw in that video was embellished. It's all true. Yeah. You just got to present it. Get somebody who can help you tell that story if you're struggling. I mean, sometimes you just need someone to come in and ask you questions because you don't know what you got until someone tells you. But that would be my advice. To just embrace what you are and be proud of what you are and put it out there for people. And I think that's what people react to.
Man, this is so good. All right. So let's dig in. All right. Let's take it one step further, Todd. So they're like, okay,
there's a little mic drop moment there.
That was a mic. So yeah.
Embracing what you are and sharing it with people is so key. I mean, I was sitting there listening to that video. I'm getting teared up, man. Cause you can just think on the Buckeyes, you can just think of them working in the
I gotta say, on that one, shooting at that place was the most best smelling place I've ever been.
Oh, I bet. I've had them before. I didn't know where they came from.
Oh, they're so good. And Marsh's is the best. I'm just gonna say they're the best.
My goodness. But you feel the energy in both of those. Awesome. You feel that story, and you gotta let that out.
Yeah. And I think authenticity is really the key to everything,
Yeah.
All right, so let's go here, Todd. So again, manufacturer out there, they're like, okay, do I go video? Do I start blogging? Do I jump on a social media site? Like, what would be? Let's get can we get like 101? Let's really strip it down, basic for a manufacturer that has you and I work closely with them, with manufacturers that are just starting out. What would be like a good first step? So now, okay, I want to share my story. We have a really cool story. How do I get that story out there?
Well, I think again, it really depends. It's individual, but I think you want to start small, because I think what happens is in any kind of project, the video is the end result of this. Yeah. Does that make sense? We didn't just start making videos. When I joined CIFT, for example, I talk about the empathetic voice. And that means a lot of things to a lot of people, but I think I mentioned this in my presentation. One thing I noticed in our previous marketing, and a lot of MEPs do this, they talk about themselves. I call it the grant voice. The third person. CIFT is da 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 da, and CIFT is not a real thing. People don't identify that. We, our, you, partnership. Start with the language you're using, and I firmly believe that internal culture and external marketing have to match anyways. So you got to build that inside. But I start small. I mean, what are you comfortable with? Are you comfortable with just doing an Instagram and taking a couple pictures and just start there and see where it goes? I would not say start with a video unless you got a big budget, which a lot of people don't have. I think blogging is a really easy thing. I don't like writing, but I do like writing, if that makes sense. One of the easiest things you can do is share your knowledge without giving away your secret sauce, is what I say. Right. listicles. BuzzFeed made billion or millions of dollars off it. Tell me when you're doing something, what are the top 3 things that you make sure you get right when you do it? There's a blog right there. You already know it. It's in your mind. Write it down. And, and then the last thing I'd say is once you get the momentum, realize that one piece of content is not just one piece of content. A video can be made into a blog. A Facebook post can promote it's an ecosystem. Don't try to do 20 different things and put them up on the shelf. Do one thing and put it in 20 different places. Does that make sense? So that would be my advice to somebody starting. But start small, start with what you're comfortable with, and start with your authentic, where you are.
Can you say that one again? The 20. Say that.
So like instead of creating 20 different pieces of content and thinking I got all this content, take one good piece of content and put it in 20 places. If you have to tweak it a little bit, that's the key. You because so many people, I made this great video, or I made this, and then they put it up there, and then okay, what are we going to do next? No, you keep building on it. You keep building on it.
Right.
And it takes time. That's the other thing. I would say it takes time. I've been at CIFT for 4 years. We've done a great job. I'm very happy. Our management has really been supportive of me, but it takes time. And sometimes you get frustrated. I go back and I look at my analytics, not as much as I should, but I try to make sure I look at them every 3 or 4 months. And every time I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing better than I thought. You know what I'm saying? But progress is slow and then it becomes fast. So, but like I said, don't overdo it. Just do what you know well and put it in a lot of places. That's the best advice I could give anybody.
All right. That was fantastic. And I want to be mindful. I know you're a busy guy. I want to be mindful of everybody's time as we wind down. Todd, so Willie's and, Buckeyes consumer goods. One of the last questions I'm going to have for you. Let's talk to that custom manufacturer, the job shop, where, they're strictly more on that B2B side. They don't have that proprietary product. And they're like, that's all cool. Salsa is sexy and exciting. And, Buckeyes, everybody loves a, big chocolate and peanut butter, of course. But, like for the job shop or the custom manufacturer, and again, I know it would be the same premise, but, I don't know if you do, a lot of times we'll get a little bit of pushback or resistance from a manufacturer on that side of things. Any advice for those folks that don't have that proprietary product that you would have for like marketing success?
Again, that's a tough question, but the best answer I can think of for you is, again, when we talk about workforce and things like that, and I promise I'm going to get to your answer. I talked to a lot of people about workforce. And younger people, and I've worked with a lot of younger people. That's why it's my joy. I love working with young, motivated people. They want to be connected to something bigger, right? So you say, oh, we're just this one piece, and maybe we're not very sexy, and we're not in Buckeye, but you're part of a supply chain. You're part of something, creating something bigger and bigger. And if ever there's been a time in history, I'm 48 years old, where people are understanding supply chain and how important it is, it's 2022, right? So don't sell yourself short. Talk about your impact. Talk about, do you remember the Got Milk commercials? Do you remember those? Yeah. Do you remember how they came up with those? Do you remember the story of that?
How did they?
They refused to drink milk for a month or something like that. I'm probably getting this wrong. And they realized what they missed when they didn't drink milk. And the first milk, I don't know if you remember, the first one was this guy gets hit by a car. He thinks he's in heaven. He gets all these cookies and he's eating all these cookies and he goes to get the milk and there's no milk. He realizes he's not in heaven. And it's like, got milk. And that's the thing. Look at yourself. Don't sell yourself short. And you realize you're part of something bigger. And that's what I'd say. And again, that always comes back to embrace yourself. Don't try to be something you're not.
Got milk. I love it. I love it.
That was one of my favorite ads as a kid. Sorry. I'm dating myself, but those were great.
Dude, that was, oh my God. Now, Damon, just picture Todd live in a room with literally like hundreds of people and just, Todd, you just absolutely blew the room away. I know you're a humble guy, but everybody I talked to, even I just talked to Jeanette Stevens a few weeks ago. She's with the Gen Edge in Virginia, and we were talking
really good down there in Virginia.
Dude, you made a great impact at the show.
I'm glad to hear that. That was my first time, so I was really nervous.
Well, I'll tell you, you are a gifted speaker. I was captivated. And, again, as marketers, you sit there, and I was just so impressed with your presentation, your passion for manufacturing. And why Damon and I love doing this is like, so manufacturers are out there, there's a little skepticism of like, hey, what is this MEP? Is this government? And why we love bringing on guys like you. You've lived literally all over the world.
Yeah.
You bring a wealth of experience, knowledge, and most importantly, boy, your unapologetic passion for helping manufacturers. I think your storytelling strategy is absolutely brilliant. You're just, the vulnerability, the empathy is just, lights out. And I love what you said about, like the job shop to custom manufacturer, be authentic, just, be that guide, give the top 10, top 3 reasons why we do this. Stop being the best kept secret. The Got Milk was just a spot on example. And dude, as we wind down, we're coming in the holidays. I'm going to have one last question, but any parting thoughts, words of wisdom for our listeners out there?
No, I just say, keep following us. If you're interested, if you're an organization interested in supporting us, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but we are looking for sponsors for these stories next year.
Nice.
I'd like to do more than less. So, but just keep doing what you're doing and be proud of it. I just, I think the world appreciates manufacturing and food more than they ever have, especially in America, because that's a silver lining of the last tough couple of years. People really get that, you have to think about things now, and that's good. And that's the way it should be.
And what, shame on me. I should have had this pulled up. Todd, I think it was you had a meme pulled up and it said, if we went back like hundreds of years.
Oh, that's on my, yeah.
That's your meme, right? So Damon.
Well, I didn't make it, but it's my favorite meme.
It's your favorite meme. So picture this. I apologize, I don't have it. So there's a picture of a bunch of technology, like, a bunch of phones or what have you. And then a picture underneath. And it says, what do you think people would be more impressed with 500 years ago? And, the picture is showing all this technology. The picture below it is our grocery store shelves packed with food.
Yeah.
And Todd, you talk about like food shortages and like how we take for granted. I mean, like, we're suffering all the supply chain, and the running joke about like toilet paper during COVID. Yeah. I mean, just think, like, I thank God every single day, religiously without fail. Thank you that I have food in my fridge. Just think what a blessing that is. That's one of all the problems we have today. That is not a problem that we have. There's food, and and I want to be mindful of like folks who are struggling or what have you. But there is an abundance of food if we could get it out to everybody. But Todd, just share. I want to hit that one. I'm sorry to keep you.
Share. I got plenty of time. You got what time you need.
Share like that meme, or just your thoughts on like food, the supply chain, and just the abundance that we have.
Well, I think, and again, I don't want to sound preachy, but one thing after living abroad for a long time, and Japan was a very wealthy country, and I'm not putting but we have such an abundance here in America. We really do. And we have a lot of problems, and I understand that, but I really push my kids and the people I know, every once in a while, forget the problems and think of how grateful you are to be what you have. Because I'll tell you a little funny story. We had been in India for 2.5 years, and it was a wonderful place, but the food was difficult, put it that way. And I remember we had a 70-some hour flight because we missed 3 flights with 2 children. It was supposed to be a 20-hour flight. We slept on floors it was a worst trip of my life. I didn't think I was ever going to get on a plane again. We get back to Toledo in the middle of the night. And the next day we're super jet lagged, and my stepfather took us to Costco. And I swear to God, it was the most religious experience I've ever had. My wife and I were just like, and and I just always think about that and how grateful we are to be here. And when I say grateful, be grateful to the people who make that and keep those things running. And nobody went wrong being grateful. Does that make sense? Yeah. So
nobody went wrong.
Nobody went wrong being grateful.
Right, now and down.
So Todd, we have these things called moments of silence where we just, like it's lunchtime in the Eastern time zone. We just want to savor. So, dude, first off, thank you, man.
Thank you guys. I appreciate having me.
Blessing. Love your energy. Love our connection. Just thrilled to collaborate with you through 2023. As we're coming into the holidays, you have a 10-year-old, 7-year-old, big girl dad. My last question for you, I promise.
Sure, please.
Who is your inspiration coming into 2023? Who or what is your inspiration as you excitingly look into the new year?
My inspiration. That's a tough one. Honestly, I don't want to you said don't pick your favorite child, but my 10-year-old really inspires me. And I mean this sincerely because she went to school in Japan. Didn't speak any Japanese because we taught her English only at home because we thought we were going to stay in Japan. Then she went to school in India, and we were working at a startup. I wasn't making a lot of money. We lived a normal Indian life. And she went to school with a bunch of Indian kids, which is fine, but she was the outcast there. Then we moved to Ohio. She goes to a school. We buy a house. She has to switch schools again. Then COVID hit, and she stayed home for a year because we were real conservative with it, and we kept her home. Then she goes back to school, and then this year she's in a new school, and just the fact, and now she's got to get up at 6 a.m. every day, which is a struggle for me. But honestly, I look at my little 10-year-old and all the stuff she's been through. I know that may be another cliche answer, and I love Mary, my 7-year-old too, but it's just how strong she is, and I don't know, I'll get a little weepy, but she's my inspiration. I hope I'm as tough as she is.
Well,
that's incredible.
And my wife, of course. I don't want to get in trouble, but my wife too. She's
so
that's a given. That's a given.
Todd, wife's name, please.
Machiko.
Daughters, your 10-year-old.
Ray.
And 7-year-old.
Mary.
Awesome. Hey, and guess who's in the house?
Yep, Nicole
Donnelly, and she has 2 beautiful daughters, Sophia and Charlotte. She says,
can I just say one more thing real quick? I'm sorry. Our next video, which I can't share yet, but I just finished our second, is about women in food, and it's about kind of for my daughters, if that makes sense. So I'm excited. I'll send that to you guys. I'm kind of excited.
Right. So man, so much exciting things here going on.
Good
and
stuff.
Just, we covered, girl dads, we've covered, living all over the world. We've covered manufacturing, all the exciting things going on. Ohio is just booming. And Todd, dude, thank you, man.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you letting me come on and talk.
This was great. Okay. Guys, anybody out there, contact your local MEP.
Yes.
I know right now if you're in another state, if you're outside of Northwest Ohio, I know you're saying, man, I might have to move to Northwest Ohio just so I can work with Todd. But guys, wherever you're at, contact your local manufacturing extension partnership. They are just a gift and a blessing to help manufacturers. Boy, if you've missed this, go back and catch that replay. Watch that video. Man, Damon, I thought of you the whole time. What did you think of that video?
Oh man, it was incredible. It's just so cool. I mean, for me in manufacturing, and I walk through a manufacturing plant and just put your hands and touch the stuff they make is so cool.
It's so cool.
Just so cool.
So good.
I love you guys. This is a great show. Thank you guys.
We're gonna wind down. So Todd, you're gonna love this. On Monday, we have a client that I had the honor and privilege working with at IMEC. That is the Illinois MEP. We have a great, wonderful success story on Monday with Jacqueline, who is she's a marketing specialist at IMEC. And so Damon, we're back here on Monday.
Yeah.
And so everybody go out there, have an amazing, incredible, wonderful weekend. If we miss you next week, happy holidays to you. And you know what? Go out there and be someone's inspiration, man. Just like Todd is. Go out and be someone's inspiration. Hang out with us 1 second. Damon, take us away, brother.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Yeah. Well, Todd, thanks so much for being here. Man, it was fun talking about the value of industry storytelling for manufacturers. And the video you shared today, Todd, was incredible. Thanks, everyone, for being here every week, week in, week out. We had Whitney, Tom, Christina, Nicole in today. And I know we had other listeners that weren't commenting. And thank you for being here. We will be back again. Are we here next week, Kurt? Or are we taking a day off?
You know what? We'll have to talk about that. We might have a little Christmas party. So
we may have a Christmas party next week. So just hang out. We may be here next week. Thanks, everyone, for being with us today. We'll be back again.
Thanks,
guys.
Have
a great Christmas.
Thanks, guys.